Joining us now is Kachi Ofia with stories trending around the world. Hello, Kachi.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Please catch it.
I love when you do that. Funny thing is, people always, catch it. I'm like, when Dr. Abati says that. Good morning, Mr. Feni. I hope you're well.
Yes.
And Adesua, looking stunning as usual. Good morning.
Good morning,
Fantastic.
Kachi.
All right,
Catching the flow.
To you viewers as well. Let's have a quick run through some of the stories that are trending across the globe today. Now, the Shettima challenge may have numerous participants and seems to be the rave of the moment. However, not everyone is happy with this viral challenge. Of course, lawyers at the NBA Conference 2022 were captured on Rampage in another viral video over a dispute on substandard conference materials. And in Australia, the gender wars continue as a psychologist is being sued for approving the gender of a woman to a man. Finally, the US commemorates International Day of the Victims of Violence based on religious or beliefs by honoring the slain Sokoto student, Deborah Samuel. Now let's begin with the former Minister of Aviation, Fani-Kayode. He has a problem with the viral Shettima challenge. Now he thinks men in their 40s, 50s, 60s and 70s participating in this ongoing Shettima challenge need to grow up. So Nigerians began this challenge on Tuesday to depict the rather unusual outfit that the APC vice presidential candidate Kashim Shettima wore to the Nigerian Bar Association conference held in Lagos State. Now, Fani-Kayode expressed his displeasure with the challenge, and he described those who participated in it as miscreants who are meant to be in the zoo. Well, many Nigerians cutting across different age strata have participated in this challenge. The big question is, should they stop posting these images? Dr. Abati, Mr. Feni, Adesua, I find them quite hilarious. And I also think it also just boils down to a generation gap, not in terms of Gen Zs or millennials, but social media age, where with social media, they always find a way to make humor out of everything. The big question is, how do you wear a suit, a 3-button suit? Let's not talk about the tie. Let's just assume that was the weather was cold and he just needed to get comfortable. But the sneakers, that's just unforgivable. It's really hard to piece these 3 items together. So of course, that's what's birthed these hilarious pictures that are now trending online.
Well, okay, you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Well, see, one good thing about Nigerians is that no matter how tough a situation may be, Nigerians have developed this habit of looking at the other side. Mm-hmm. And on social media, there's a lot of entertainment. I mean, as hard as things are, unemployment 33%, inflation 19.6%. Nigerians have developed a capacity to laugh at themselves. And during this political season, there's been very high-octane drama. It's a former governor of Borno State, Shettima, in this particular instance. Before now, it was Emilokan. Mm-hmm. You know, the Emilokan drama. Look at the number of musicians that are producing singles on Emilokan. Mm-hmm. You know, just pure entertainment. Okay, so, and it's harmless, I think.
Yeah.
It may be dark comedy. There's something we call dark comedy. But, you know, I think that the fun at the heart of it, many of us find it really entertaining. Mm-hmm. And I thought that the reaction, you know, by Femi Fani-Kayode is entitled to his own opinion, but I think it's a little bit overboard. When I reacted to the issue, I said, well, you know, Alhaji Shettima's relevance is not really maybe sartorial elegance. They probably expected him to come in what he wears ordinarily, the babariga. But he tried to wear suit, and he must have been seeing maybe President Donald Trump on television with those long ties, and he wanted to emulate it. But even what he's wearing, the jacket, some people have said this one is not a suit, this is a coat. He doesn't have many colors, but in terms of the appearance, he wore a coat, you know, to an event of lawyers. But my reaction is that they should have paid, people could have paid more attention to his message about what he and his principal, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, intend to do to move Nigeria forward. You know, to do a lot. I just take 3 words from him about the economy, about ecology, about security. And out of all the presidential candidates that spoke there, he was considered the most articulate, you know, because he has oratorical gift. But that was overlooked by people who were looking for commenting. However, back to Fani-Kayode. Fani-Kayode then wrote this long piece in which he was saying the people who were attacking him because of his sartorial inelegance, they are Philistines, they belong in the company of animals in the zoo, they are sociopathic people, they are jobless clowns, they are, all kinds of, adjectives. I think, look, Fani-Kayode should just learn to take cold water, and take some of these things with a sense of humor. People are not necessarily Philistines, or clowns, just because they are having fun at other people's expense. But I think we should not forget his message about the importance of the economy, the ecology, security, and the commitment of he and his principal and his party to make a difference. But it's then for the Nigerian people to decide.
Well, I think people just learn to enjoy this fun like this. And we should be very careful about people who want to cry more than the bereaved. I don't think even Kashim will feel so bad that he's trending because of his apparel. I don't know what to call whether coat or suit. But one question I wanted to ask, did the lawyers actually compel people to wear suits to the occasion? Because Atiku was there. But of course, I haven't lived in Dubai for such a long time. He came with a tip-top suit. But Kashim Shettima, I think the lesson that should be taken from this is that when you are going for an office, it's total package. I don't know what asked him to abandon that elegant Babariga he used to wear.
Yeah.
I've never seen him in suit anywhere. Maybe when he used to be a banker, maybe he was suit to the bank. But I've never seen him. And to come up with this, it means somebody did not pay attention to total packaging. Because you could have called one of these designers, who is the most famous one now when it comes to suit? Is it Maya Tafo? Yes, that's the name that. Overnight, he will give you something that will be talk of the town.
But give you a bit. You are doing advertisement.
No. Maya Tafo is our friend also.
Don't do advertisement.
But let's just enjoy the fun. Yeah. But again, the message seems to have been lost in the
attention to the apparel,
in the coach, But he delivered a good message. But nobody's talking about that now. But it's fun. And I'm sure Kashim will also see it as fun, because if you don't see it as fun, then what are you coming to do in public space? If you cannot stand the heat in the kitchen, you get out. Yeah.
Well, Adesua, I'm sure you'd have something very interesting to say about this.
Well, Kechi, I'm no fashion police, and this happened on Monday at the NBA conference, but it has refused to go anywhere. Do you remember the U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders and his meeting gloves to U.S. President Joe Biden's inauguration as the 46th president of the United States of America? Public officials sometimes have fashion faux pas. It's okay to have it. But like Mr. Femi and I'm sure Dr. Abachi, even though I was cut off from the conversation for a bit, have emphasized, just laugh it off. But I'm just surprised that this has refused to go away just yet, Kachi. As public officials, I think that it's important to know that what you say, what you don't say, what you wear, what you don't wear matter. There's a certain level of expectation from people, from critics, from your fans. And I think I do agree with what Mr. Feni says, is total package. However, I do have a fear that, there's been so much focus on the messenger, not the message. If you ask all of these people what Kashim Shettima said at that NBA conference, first day of the conference, would they be able to tell you some of the points he brought to the table, some of the things his party would be doing come 2023, those issues that really matter to us as a people? I do hope that that's not the trend we are going to see going into this election, where we will lose focus on the message and focus on the messenger. What they're wearing, their fashion faux pas, those mundane things. It's time to get serious. I think we should just laugh it off and move on.
Yeah, I really hope that social media takes that into account, focusing on the message as opposed to the messenger. Now let's talk about the ethics and professional duties of lawyers. This was kicked to the curb on Tuesday as well. This happened in Lagos, Nigeria, when some lawyers went on a rampage over the distribution of bags at the annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association. This event was definitely eventful. Now, this incident took place at the Echo Atlantic City, one of the venues for the conference. The Technical Committee on Conference Planning of the NBA had earlier sent out emails informing the lawyers that the distribution of the conference materials would be suspended. This was due to the substandard materials that were supplied. However, in this video you will see, which has been circulating on social media, lawyers were seen destroying registration booths and looting other conference materials. Take a look.
Some of the booths are already destroyed because of the bags. Can you see?
Now, in law school, one of the major courses that you will take, in fact, you must take it, you have to pass it, is the ethics and professional responsibility of lawyer, which is guided by the rules of professional conduct. You know, that outlines a way a lawyer should behave, down to the dressing. Most recently, we saw the viral video from River State University where a young girl had her hair cut, and that went all over social media because she was not dressed in the capacity of a lawyer. So this behavior, the fact that it happened at the NBA conference in itself, it really speaks volumes into what really goes on within those classrooms. Are people studying law just because I want to be tagged a barrister, because I just want to have the title? Or do they really want to uphold the noble discipline that comes with the profession?
Well, the question to ask is, how did vandals get to the bar?
Yeah.
You know, that is the very shocking thing about it, because law is a very noble profession. And that's why when you hear people calling, referring to Lord Denny, referring to very distinguished juries, it's because they think they are, you know, in a special class. And lawyers refer to being a learned person, even when many lawyers are ignorant, you know. And then you find this kind of situation where lawyers are fighting over tags, badges,
lanyards,
conference bags, and when those materials were not readily available, they took the law into their hands and they started pulling down, you know, the conference booths and all of that. Some, in fact, started complaining about food, and the argument is that they paid $150,000. They have not given them food. These are supposed to be distinguished officers in the temple of justice, behaving like people at Oshodi Market. So that is a big problem. However, why there is no justification for it, this year's annual conference of the NBA, 62nd NBA annual conference, is against the background of grievances and divisions within the Bar Association itself. Many senior lawyers, in fact, boycotted this year's conference. Many of the young ones that went there to fight. Whether it is conference bag or it is badge, I believe they went there to go and fight. And what is the issue? The suspension of the General Secretary, Mrs. Joyce Udua, with the NBA National Executive Council, quoting Section 9, Subsection 6 of the NBA Act. But the attention of the Executive Council being drawn to the fact that, look, there is a matter in court, and that you cannot take the law into your hands and proceed with this suspension, until it then turned out that the court ruled that the ESCO's ratification of that suspension is null and void. But of course, that in itself has even created more problems, because, you know, different interpretations. Some people say, no, that's not what the judge said. This is what the judge said. All politicizing what looks like a straightforward matter. So that is where the problem lies. And I've seen, you know, so many commentaries on what is befalling the NBA. On this program, I've quoted Abdurrashid SAN. I've quoted G.S. Okutekpa SAN. Yesterday, I quoted Ebolu Adegboruwa SAN, his own input into the matter. Then this morning, I also read a piece by Professor Babafemi Badejo, political scientist and lawyer, who titled his own MBA, The Trashing of the Rule of Law. So you find either with regard to a conference bag or with administrative processes within the association, lawyers are now being accused of trashing the rule of law. At the end of the day, all the brilliant teams at this 62nd Annual National Conference, nobody is talking about those issues. About political transition, about the future of Nigeria, about practice. No. People are talking about not being given rice and beans. They are talking about not being given bags. They are talking about politics within the association. It's unfortunate.
Well, you see, let me just stick to what I saw there now. When you are organizing an event, you must take into consideration, the number of people that are coming, people who have paid. People don't just get crashed into MBA conference. Lawyers are the ones who are there, those who have registered. And if you are making provision, there should be some modicum of organization in what you do. If you do that, everybody will just sit down and wait. They will get their bags, they will get their books. But when you don't provide enough, of course, the animal instinct in man will come out. That's what you have just seen. It's not like these guys are some thugs suddenly became lawyers. No. These are gentle lawyers, But the circumstance, the situation, brought the animal instinct in them, and that's the chaos we saw.
I hope they won't go to court one of these days.
And get upset.
And beat up the presiding judge.
No.
I was going to say that. Isn't that the whole point of the wig and the gown?
No, because if you have 80 bags for 100 people, what will happen? Everybody wants to get one. Of course, when somebody's look, I'm not getting, so I don't want to do gentleman and go home empty-handed. They will all change to the other gap, and that's what I've just seen there. So I think when people are organizing events, please just plan properly. This is lack of proper planning. That's what we have just seen. Turning lawyers into...
No, it's not justification.
No, it's not justification really, but people should just...
I think it's the lawyers that makes it. Yeah, Adesua.
Yes, I mean, Dr. Batty, an hungry man is an angry man, but truly that's not justification when you talk about lack of, they're fighting over jollof. But remember that if you're hungry, then you're angry. What I fail to see here is honor and integrity, and Dr. Batty has said it. I mean, law is a noble profession. They see them as very distinct. So when you see behaviors such as this, you begin to wonder what's left, what's the hope of the people who then, engage the services, because it's a service-oriented profession. They don't just uphold justice. They're not just noble people. You provide service to people. And so when I see this and I'm wondering if I have to engage the services of a lawyer, what am I to expect from such an individual? We need to know how to put our acts right. Again, there are expectations that come with certain positions, certain professions. This is unjustifiable. There's no excuse for this. It's inexcusable.
Well, let's move right on to the fact that before any important decision is made, it is very important to think deeply, as with some decisions, there's absolutely no going back. Now, let's get into the international scene, where an Australian woman who transitioned to male and removed her breast, her uterus, is suing a psychiatrist after he approved her female-to-male hormone treatment following a single meeting. Now, she goes by the name Jay Langadinos. She's 31, and now she regrets transitioning when she was just 19. At the time, she had met this doctor, Dr. Patrick Tuhi. He is an Australian psychiatrist, and this happened all the way back in May 2010. Now, nearly a decade later, Langadinos, who no longer identifies as male, although she does have the body of a man, is suing Tuhi for professional negligence, claiming that he approved her hormone therapy even after she told him she suffered from social phobia. So it was more like a meeting that they had. She said she had this problem and it was social phobia. She's asking, why did he not recommend anything else? Why was his go-to response was, I think you may be a man deep down and you may need to change your gender. So you should go have this surgery done to take off your uterus, take off your breast and transition. Now she's saying, as a result of this decision, she has plenty of problems. She has early menopause. She has problems with her breathing. She's having disabilities and it's causing her major problems. And that's why she's suing the psychiatrist. I wonder how someone would convince another human that, oh yeah, your problem is to change your gender and you go right ahead to do that. Such a permanent decision.
Well, I'll make a very limited comment because this whole territory is very sensitive.
It is.
Yeah, because issues of transgender, changes in identity, you know, and homophobia and all of that, gender dystopia, you know, there are certain boundaries you don't cross.
Oh, J.K. Rowling has taught us that. She's still being criticized
Yes,
for her
so
opinions.
there are certain boundaries you don't cross in the course of analysis. But let us make this clear. One thing that we see here from a human angle is that this particular lady was just 19 years when that decision was taken. And the psychiatrist was supposed to provide advice. Now, the process of transitioning to a new identity was done at the age of 22. Now, I think she's over 40 now, and she's just saying, oh, what happened to her? You know, she would rather prefer to be...
Or to him.
To a woman. No, now she
Now
identifies...
she's identifying as female.
Back to being a female.
Yeah,
she identifies as
from
a
being a
female. But, you know, she's probably regretting her actions, you know. And that's, you know, one human angle to this whole, you know, identity, gender identity. There are persons who even don't identify as either male or female. They say they are non-binary. Yeah. And in some countries, this has been recognized, where, in fact, gender disclosure is not even required. You just put an X or something
they even have
on the form. Yeah, but I like the intro where you pegged it, that, look, people take certain decisions. In life, they may want to change their mind. But when it has to do with your identity, it's a process reversible. Because you surgically removed, you know, features as a woman. Is it possible to return it back and all that? And in Africa, this should be of interest. Because in some other African countries now, this is also a hot topic.
Yes.
You know, people want to change their identity and all of that. But, you know, it's a very sensitive subject in our immediate environment. So I don't want to say any further.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Well, in climes where these things are normal, I think what they should not do, because since we have cases like this, people regretting actions they have taken years down the line, perhaps there should be more...
scrutiny?
Yeah, more scrutiny. One psychologist's advice will not be enough. Perhaps you have to see another for confirmation and another for reassurance that indeed that is what you want. Because in this case, it was an advice coming from a psychologist. In other cases, it's the individual who desire it and you approach the relevant medical personnel to give you what you want. But in this case, she was feeling in a certain way and she needed advice and boom, psychologist said, just change your gender and you'll be fine. And now she's regretting it. But I'm sure given her age, the fact that she went to complain of something else, not to talk about the desire to change her gender, that was only recommended as a medical prescription for her, maybe she should just get some reprieve and get some compensation.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Most likely. Adesuwa?
Well, you know what they say about actions and consequences. But, you know, it also reminds me of that phrase from that song, problems, you know, they finish. That's all I have to say.
Honestly, it doesn't. Well, finally, as we wrap this segment on the morning show up, the United States Department of State has honored the slain Sokoto student Deborah Samuel. Now, Deborah, a 200-level student of home economics at the Shehu Shagari College of Education in Sokoto, was murdered and set ablaze after she advised her classmates against posting religious materials on their WhatsApp page. Well, in marking the U.S. International Day commemorating the victims of violence based on religion or belief, This is on the 22nd of August every year. The bar's picture was uploaded on the website of the U.S. Office of Religious Freedom. This office promotes universal respect for freedom of religion or belief for all as a core objective of the U.S. foreign policy.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing. You know, the U.S. Office for Religious Freedom in the Department of State, you know, is always doing this on an annual basis,
yes,
trying to draw attention to the evil of religious extremism,
yes,
and the martyrdom of persons who become victims. So this is a, you know, sad reminder, again, of the incident that occurred on May 12, 2022, right? At the Sokoto State College of Education, where this lady was lynched, murdered, and then set ablaze. So the United States now has reminded us again of that horror, of that evil, of that man's inhumanity to man. What has the Nigerian government done? 2 persons were arrested and taken to court, and they were slammed with very light charges that will get them off the hook. Okay, civil society groups protested that, no, this is a case of murder, simplicity. But we have not heard anything since then about that. I've not seen any further reports about the trial of those 2 persons. Maybe I'm the one who has not been paying enough attention. What has the state government even done? Yes, the state government immediately shut down the school. But one of the major fallouts was that, in fact, the state government did not even make any attempt to send a delegation to the family. In fact, when the father went to Sokoto to get her corpse, there was an attempt to deny him access to the corpse. So for that family, their memory of how the government treated this particular problem, it would be a bad one. The only major man who stood up for the family is a man called Apostle Samuel Chibuzo of the Omega Fire Ministries, I think in Port Harcourt, who then relocated the family, gave them a 14-flat mini estate and a car and money to support them. But all of this, the pastor's, kindness, the Americans, honoring her, all of this, what matters most is that such an incident should never have occurred. Nobody should die because they belong to a particular religious persuasion.
Yeah, the sad part of it is that while the American government is remembering Deborah Samuel on this day, the Nigerian government,
it's trying so hard to forget.
At any level, seem not to have done anything to even assuage the pains of the family or even bring people responsible for this to book, to bring them to justice. Very unfortunate.
Incredibly. Adesuwa?
I totally agree with the views of both gentlemen. I think we can do more to send those strong messages, deterrent measures that, we do not agree and accept such barbaric behavior. And it's a shame that the U.S. is doing this before the Nigerian government. We should be doing this instead.
Absolutely. Well, that is it on What's Trending on the Morning Show today.
Thank you very much, Kachi Ofia. Thank you very much indeed.